Good afternoon to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to today's tropical weather outlook for Friday, June 26, 2026 here. We are going to talk about El Nino in today's tropical weather outlook because it is going to continue to strengthen. It's really going to ramp up here once again over the next few weeks, and we're going to talk about the implications it's going to have on the tropics, especially in the Pacific. And we're also going to go over what might happen here in the Atlantic as well, because we might have something here within the next week too. So the tropics are getting really busy over this next week. Let's start off right away by taking a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies right now globally to especially get a view of this El Nino here, which once again continues to intensify. All of these anomalies here, shadings reaching as much as 2 degrees Celsius here, continue to fill out along the entire equatorial Pacific. And the 2 degrees Celsius shading here is especially important because 2 degrees Celsius is the threshold for Super El Nino, which is what everyone is anticipating this year. And it's kind of astonishing, already stretching from the Central Pacific all the way east to the coast of South America. We have sea surface temperature anomalies here, at least 2 degrees Celsius in most spots, and now really coming up in the Eastern Pacific here as well. Some of these anomalies reaching 3 degrees Celsius, and you even have pockets of 4 and 5 off the coast of South America. And I'm going to show you, especially these further east Nino regions here are really starting to pick up in terms of the sea surface temperature anomaly readings as well. But El Nino is, kicking into full force here. El Nino is going full throttle, and it is not going to stop. And taking a look at the latest weekly sea surface temperature anomaly plots in the Nino 3.4, and this is using the Climate Prediction Center weekly values, by the way, so they are reduced from what the typical daily sea surface temperature anomalies would be. Those are already in strong El Nino territory, but we are now solidly above moderate El Nino territory here in the weekly Nino 3.4 sea surface temperature anomalies. The Nino 3 trailing at 1 point, or ahead slightly at 1.3, but taking a look at the 1.2 here, which is the Nino region close to South America, where we are seeing the most concentrated warmth with this El Nino right now. We have already reached 2.5 degrees Celsius above normal. So we are already seeing super El Nino threshold here being reached in the easterly Nino regions, and it is only late June, and this is absolutely a sign of the warmth that is yet to surface and more than likely spread westward along the equatorial Pacific here, and probably in just a matter of a few months, I'd imagine that the Nino 3.4 is going to solidly make its way into Super Nino territory. And once again, this is the relative sea surface temperature anomaly plot by the Climate Prediction Center weekly anomalies. Let's compare that to what the traditional anomalies are right now, and Ben Knoll highlights this very nicely with a graphic that he made highlighting all of the Nino regions here, and the tweet accompanying it: ocean temperatures in the equatorial Pacific are already exceeding or approaching strong El Nino levels, and once again it is only late June here. All Nino regions are record warm except for the Nino 1-2, which was warmer only at this time in 1983. And the probably key sentence here: these are huge anomalies for this time of year. And let's take a look at what some of those anomalies are. In the Nino 3.4 region, the traditional index right now in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies there, already at 1.7 degrees Celsius. You could even round this up, 1.79 to 1.8 degrees Celsius. So already solidly into strong El Nino threshold here. The relative Nino index also already at 1.28, so we could round that up to 1.3. The Nino 3 region here, averaging out at 2 degrees Celsius, already on the traditional Nino index, according to this graph. And by the way, this graph here was made by yesterday, so all of these anomalies are more than likely in line with what we are seeing right now in real time. But what is especially astonishing here, the Nino 1 and 2 region, the area off the coast of South America here, whopping 3 degrees Celsius is already being measured in terms of the average sea surface temperature anomaly plot for this area. And folks, this El Nino is only going to get stronger from here on out, and all of these extremely warm sea surface temperature anomalies here closer to South America and the Eastern Pacific are going to continue to make their way westward with time as the weeks go by, and that's definitely going to happen here in the next few weeks and in the immediate future, as I'll show you in just a little bit. The SOI, though, continuing to reflect strong El Nino. Right now, the latest 30-day average is at negative 13, or the negative 19, and the 90-day average is at negative 13. Both continue to tank here, especially the 90-day average. And as long as the 90-day average here and 30-day average both remain below negative 7, which is the El Nino threshold in the SOI, we are going to be fully coupled with the atmosphere for this for this El Nino. Well, we are already fully coupled El Nino wise in the atmosphere, and that's kind of a measurement that we look at using the SOI here, since the SOI is a measurement of the pressure patterns in the Pacific. So what better way to look at to see how the atmosphere is actually responding right now relative to what the sea surface temperature anomalies are. And it's only going to get stronger from here on out. Here are the latest forecasted westerly wind anomalies, zonal winds here in the Pacific for the next 2 weeks by the European ensembles. And we have even more reds here showing up, meaning strong westerly wind bursts are expected. In fact, we already have strong westerly wind bursts occurring right now, centered in the Central Pacific. So this is really going to help the Central Pacific and the more western regions of the Nino regions warm. So we're probably going to see quite a bit of warming coming up in the Nino 3.4. And we're probably going to see, some of the warmth here in the Nino 1 and 2 begin to spread more towards the Nino 3.4. So El Nino is going to strengthen. And I mean, just by the look at these westerly wind anomalies here, taking it all the way out to the end of the forecast, solid red straight down. And this is absolutely a solid sign that El Nino is in full force in the atmosphere, and it's going to strengthen. And not only does this help with strengthening the El Nino here, seeing a lot of these westerly winds, but this is also going to have an effect on the tropics, especially here in the tropical Pacific, and that we are going to get into in just a moment. But taking a look at the velocity potential anomalies as well, taking a look at how the MJO is looking like. Green represents rising motion, orange here represents sinking motion, and in an El Nino, we typically have all of the rising motion here centered in the Pacific, and that is exactly what's going to happen here in the next few weeks. Throughout the next 6-week forecast period straight here on the CFS run, we have rising air centered directly in the center of the Pacific, although the cell here kind of stretches and encompasses the entire Pacific. And this forecast takes us all the way out through the end of this month, which is in a few days, through the entire forecast of July, taking us out all the way till the beginning of August. And this is quite a solid rising motion look. Definitely a very, very solid El Nino atmospherically coupled look in the Pacific here. So we're going to have rising motion. Obviously, that is only going to help enhance persistent westerlies here further. And of course, with all of that being said, with strong westerly wind anomalies, rising motion, that means a lot of thunderstorm activity. We're also going to have lots of tropical activity more than likely here coming up in the Pacific, especially in the Western Pacific. And taking a look at what is happening in the tropics right now across the Pacific, you could already see that things are quite active here. We have 2 active tropical storms in the Pacific right now. One of them was at one point a pretty strong typhoon, reached Category 4 intensity here, Tropical Storm Makala. It reached Category 4 intensity, but it quickly weakened after that as it dealt with shear. We also have Tropical Storm Higos, and this remained a tropical storm throughout its entire life, but both are impacting Japan right now, but both are on their weakening trends. But we have even more activity coming here in the Pacific. We have Invest 95W, and looking at the ensembles, I believe these ensembles are associated with Invest 95W. Looking at the latest Google AI ensembles here from the 12Z run, look at that. a very aggressive signal for more activity to come here in the Western Pacific. All of the ensembles pretty much show a more than likely powerful typhoon brewing here in the Western Pacific, and especially in a year like this, the Pacific Basin becomes a machine for strong, powerful upper-end tropical cyclones, or as they're called in the Western Pacific, typhoons, and we're likely going to see that shape up here in the next few weeks. And there's also some activity as well being hinted in the South China Sea too. Maybe we might have some more signals to follow after that, especially if you believe some other models. So yeah, things are going to get very active here in the Pacific, and especially when we have these very, very strong, powerful typhoons, they also play a role in creating a feedback loop that feeds these westerly winds even further because of the general wind pattern that tropical cyclones produce. On the southern side, tropical cyclones produce westerly moving winds. So that's only going to fuel these westerly wind anomalies here, especially in the central Pacific and in the middle of the Pacific here, even further. So it is all systems to go for lots of activity here in the Pacific coming up, in the Western Pacific, and definitely a period of strengthening El Nino as well coming here in the next few weeks. What about the Atlantic, though? Let's see what things are going to look like here in the next week or so. The GFS and the 12Z run not showing much, although you can see there's a little bit of piece of energy here off the southeast coast, and we're going to have to watch this closely because the AI ensembles for the 12Z and the Atlantic are actually showing a pretty decent amount of activity here off the southeast coast, originating once again with this piece of energy that some of the models are showing, originating from a front, and then especially if this is able to make its way offshore and stay offshore like a lot of these AI ensembles show, we might be in business for some development here within the next week or so in the Atlantic. So also we have things to watch in the Atlantic as well. So quite a bit of activity happening here in the tropics. And then finally, though, to close out, what about the Eastern Pacific? Interestingly enough, the Eastern Pacific over the next week looks pretty quiet. I believe they have an area of interest right now that had a high chance of development, I believe the last I looked at it yesterday, but the GFS is definitely not very aggressive in showing something here happening in the Eastern Pacific. So it looks like they're going to have to wait a little bit longer before things really begin to wake up for them. But I'm sure it is more than likely going to happen very, very soon as El Nino continues to strengthen. The entire Pacific is probably going to be active from the west to the east in just a matter of a few weeks, and it is coming. But we are definitely already starting to see that really ramp up here in the Western Pacific. And the Western Pacific this year, I will say, is more than likely going to end up probably among one of the most active seasons we've seen in recent history, especially recently as in the last 10 to 15 years. And it is all going to be because of this very strong El Nino here, which continues to build and continues to strengthen, and it looks like there is no sign of that stopping right now. With that being said, I'm going to end it off for today's Tropical Weather Outlook. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, I would really appreciate if you like this video, comment any thoughts you have, and if you want more videos like this, we do them on a daily basis, so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, especially if you are a first-time viewer and you really enjoyed today's video. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more of these videos that we will be posting throughout the season. Thanks for watching. Stay safe to all of you out there. Enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy your weekend as the week now comes to a close here. I'm Nino Evangelista. I'll see you guys again tomorrow.